Hello and welcome to this week's SPFL Extra League Cup semi-final special. My name is Craig Cairns and this is Robert Borthwick.
Hello.
Coming up on this week's show, we're going to predict and preview this weekend's Scottish League Cup semi-finals presented by Utilita, and then as always we're going to have a look back at some of the best comments from last week's show. We're going to start with Saturday's semi-final, and that's between Hibernian and St Johnstone. One of the first issues we should touch upon is injury problems that St Johnstone have. It looks like Murray Davidson, Dave Mackay and Chris Miller are all major doubts for the Saints.
Yeah, the midfield certainly looks to be a big issue. Coming up a strong Hibs midfield as well. They've really solidified in that area. You've got to look at the likes of Darnell Fisher coming in for that one, plugging a gap, but he's also very capable. He's played there for a few weeks now, so yeah, that looks
usually a right back, but he can play in the centre midfield, or Tommy Wright's at least used them in there a couple of times. The other options they have is Simon Lappin, maybe Liam Craig dropping in there from his position on the left.
Exactly, yeah, Liam Craig came on at the weekend against Celtic, and he sort of plugged a gap in there at that time as well. So they do have options, it's just it's not looking like he's going to get his first choice midfield in there.
And for Hibs, like you say, you talked about they're strong in midfield there. They tend to play with like a narrow four in the middle across, so they Henderson and McGinn tend to play on the sides when they do play, but they keep quite narrow positions. In the centre, McGeoch didn't play at the weekend, but from what I've been hearing, he should be coming back in, and that means the other position would be between Fivey and Bartley. So it depends whether they want to go with a bit more steel in the middle there or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in a game like this, when you have a look at St Johnstone's midfield, maybe not being at full strength, having a guy like Fivey in there, I think would probably be a preferential option for Alan Stubbs, a guy who can ping the ball about, find a pass, and things like that as well. So I think that Fivey might be the option that goes in there.
It's probably given that Cummings will start up front for Hibs.
I would say so.
Who will partner him though is maybe the other question. Dagnall played at the weekend, Stokes came on and scored. Malonga's just left the club, so it's obviously not going to be him. Who do you think is going to start alongside him?
I think obviously Dagnall is giving Alan Stubbs a bit of a headache with his performance at the weekend. This is why Hibs signed Anthony Stokes is for these games that are coming up, games against St Johnstone, Hearts, and also seeing them through to the end of the season. Trying to get them that automatic promotion, if not help them through the playoffs. So I think that Anthony Stokes will be up there alongside Jason Cummins, and that's a great partnership as well, just on the face of it.
Moving on to Sunday's semi-final at Hampden, and that's between Celtic and Ross County. We'll start off with Celtic. They seem to have a settled back four now. They've had a few problems earlier on in the season, but Ambrose has come in to partner Simjunovic, and they seem to have struck up a good partnership. We're now seeing the best of Effie Ambrose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Dedrick Boyata, his extended period on the sidelines from injury, I think that's probably helped Ambrose and Simjunovic quite a lot. He was maybe not he didn't come in flying at the start of the season, put it that way. So Ambrose has now had a lot of time to work with Simjunovic, get that partnership going, and in the last 5 games they've conceded 3 goals and scored 19. So, you know, it shows that has really solidified them at the back.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's a very good base point for them to work on from here on in for the rest of the season.
And at left back, Kieran Tierney seems to be preferred to Izagiri now. There was a point in the season where Dyla seemed to be switching between the two, but now he seems set on giving Tierney a run.
He seems settled. He's been a bit of a revelation, Tierney. Unheard of pretty much at the start of the season, unless you follow youth football in Scotland. But yeah, he's come in and he's got so much drive and energy. Reminds me a bit of Andy Robertson, the way he gets up and down the left hand side. And he's a big attacking outlet as well as a big defensive one as well. So he's been a huge find for this Celtic team, certainly.
One of the players I've put down is Commons. He has not only played in the 2 previous rounds, I know he didn't play last week, but he's not a player that Dyla plays every single game. But not only that, but last season, this stage of the competition, he scored versus Rangers and he also scored in the final, so I can see Commons starting.
He's a big game player, he always has been for Celtic. He can pitch in with a goal pretty much out of nowhere. He's got that ability and that class that he can do that, but also he doesn't seem to feel any pressure in any of these games as well. So I think, especially in such a big game, Celtic chasing the treble, obviously, having him in your attack as an option, it doesn't guarantee a goal, but it certainly guarantees the possibility, because he pitches in with so many over the course of a season.
Moving on to Ross County, again it could be quite difficult. One significant move there has been that Paul Quinn has come in.
Yeah.
Chris Robertson seems to have fallen out of favour a bit recently. Scott Boyd came back into partner Andrew Davies. So do you think Paul Quinn will maybe come in for this match?
I'm not so sure that he will, just because he's only signed today, the day of this recording obviously. Scott Boyd is such an experienced player, and he knows sort of how big this game is for Ross County as well, I'm sure. He played in the game where they beat Celtic 6 years ago at Hampden as well.
In the Scottish Cup semi-final.
Scottish Cup semi-final. Yeah. Michael Gardine also survives from that squad. I think he might stick with Boyd, because Boyd played at the weekend as well. They lost a goal to Motherwell obviously, but they still managed to grind the win out, and they both seem fairly impressive, him and Davis, so I think that he will stick with Scott Boyd at the weekend.
Ross County, as we know, like to play a 4-4-2 usually, but versus Celtic in both games this season, they've dropped one of their strikers in favour of another midfielder. I think with the size of the Hampden pitch and just the opposition, I think they'll probably do the same again here. The problem is who they're actually going to play up front. Now, Boyce did say a few weeks ago that he was targeting this as his comeback. If he's fit, he plays, doesn't he?
He has to. He's such a goal threat, one of the most prolific strikers in Scotland at this moment in time. I think if he's fit, he has to play. If he is another, we'll find out, I suppose, on Sunday.
So who do they play if he's not fit? Because Curran came back from injury recently also. He actually came on as a sub at the weekend. But I'm not too sure if he's a lone striker, if he's lone striker material. So would they go with Curran or would they go with Brian Graham, do you think?
I think they'll play the two of them. I think after Brian Graham's goal at the weekend, that'll give him a huge boost of confidence as well. Craig Curran he's got to start if he's fit. He's like Boyce for me. I think he's ahead of Schalke in that sort of pecking order there as well. So I think that if it comes to it, if Liam Boyce isn't available, Brian Graham and Craig Curran would be the best option for Jim McIntyre.
So moving on to where we think the key battles will be in this match, where do you see the game being won and lost, Robert?
I think you've got to look with the form that Celtic are in right now. Lee Griffiths, he scored 8 goals in 5 games. He didn't get one on the weekend, which I think surprised everyone, including himself. But seeing how he comes up against Andrew Davis and how Andrew Davis tries to handle that, I'm a big fan of Davis. I think he's a proper captain. He's a good defender. He goes full-hearted, full-blooded into absolutely everything. He's got cup-winning experience with an underdog as well. Exactly, yes. So that's obviously going to help their cause as well. So yeah, I'd like to see. I'm going to be interested to see how Andrew Davis deals with that. Lee Griffiths likes to run in behind. He likes to find a little bit of space in the channels. See if he man marks him. See if he leaves him to do that. Drops a bit deeper. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. I think the midfield is going to be very interesting as well. You have, again, there's been a little bit of rotation in here from Dyler recently. I'd probably go with his strongest two in Beaton and Johansson. McGregor could play in one of those holding roles as well, I know. But seeing how they face up against Irvin, who's a former Celtic player, and McShane, who's really come onto a game recently in the last few weeks. Yeah, absolutely. I think the big thing for me is Jackson Irvin. His energy on the pitch the size of Hampden will really, really help that. And what's his hair going to look like? I want to know. I'm buzzing. I can't wait to see it. He's just such an all-action player, and I think this is the sort of game that he will thrive in as well. As I say, big pitch, big occasion against his old team. So it'll be interesting to see how he tries to handle, certainly near Beaton, because he's been hitting some really hot form recently as well. And one last one, we've already mentioned the two players, but Michael Gardine, he has previous on the stage versus Celtic. He's been a key player for Ross County for the 3 spells that he's had there, and Kieran Tierney, who's been a revelation this season, as we said. Huge match for Kieran Tierney. I think, at his age, coming into a semi-final of a major trophy at Hampden with so many fans there, so much expectation. Be interesting to see how he handles that. Michael Gardine is a total live wire of a player as well, so he'll try and get in behind him, run at him, make him a wee bit nervous to start with. So yeah, I can't wait to see how that one goes. This weekend's Scottish League Cup semi-finals are of course presented by Utilita, and we're going to give a quick prediction for each of the matches now. So Saturday, Hibernian versus St Johnstone. Who are you going for, Robert? I'm going to go for a St Johnstone win. I think they will win by 2-1. Well, conversely, I'm going to go with Hibs. But this isn't deliberate, this is just what we believe. I'm going to go with 2-0 to Hibs. Ross County versus Celtic now, and even though we mentioned earlier that Ross County have previous, the last time these two met in a semi-final at Hampden, Ross County came out the victors. But I think that Celtic are going to be too strong for them on this occasion, and I'm going to go for 3-1 Celtic. I think that Ross County are going to run out eventual 1-0 winners. It's going to be very tight, but I think they're going to win the game. So that's it. That's our predictions for this weekend's matches. Why don't you use the comments section below to tell us your score predictions, and why not tell us who you think is going to go on and lift the cup in March?
So last week we asked you to leave in the comments section any rumours you had heard and where you thought your team should strengthen. First one we've got here from the Bears at 44. He suggests Liam Boyce to Barcelona.
Barcelona? Why not? Next we have a Dundee United fan, Z Gamer X Elite Z, saying we need an attacking midfielder or winger to create chances as well as a couple of solid central defenders.
Well, actually, one of the players I heard linked with Dundee United recently was Noel Hunt. It would be a decent attacking option for them. It would obviously be returning to the club.
Yep.
As far as defenders go, they seem to have shored up a little bit at the weekend there. Carl Donaldson came back in, and also Paul Payton came back into the midfield. So maybe that's where they were needing strengthened rather than the actual central defence. Payton seems to come in and have solidified them a little bit. Next suggestion came in from Dale Miller and Paul Slider. I'm not going to try and pronounce your middle names. And they've suggested that Ayr United need to strengthen their central midfield.
They've got Ryan Stevenson. What else could you want? The most tattooed man in Ayrshire. That's plenty.
Sorted.
And we also have a suggestion from Mac Kelly. This has been discussed in the media this week as well. Possible move from Stephen Fletcher to Celtic.
Yeah, he seems to, if rumours are to be believed, he seems to have a few different options, including Celtic. If this one's going to happen, I think this might be in the summer rather than in this window.
Okay, and we also have a suggestion here from Dave Dunlop saying that Forfar could do with a new electrician.
Well, they have been missing that spark this season. That's it for this week's edition of SPFL Extra.
It's a show by the fans for the fans.
You can subscribe to us on this channel, or you can like us on Facebook,
or you can follow us on Twitter at SPFL.
Remember to use the comment section below, tell us your score predictions for the weekend and also who you think will go on to lift the cup. That's it for this week, we'll see you next week.